Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 326 of the podcast, unless you're joining me live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Today is Sunday, August 20th. August just about over, folks. How do you feel about that? I know a lot of folks up north getting ready for back to school. We've been back to school for a week now. Week one of kindergarten in the books, and it's going quite well, I gotta say. She's kiddo's loving the kindergarten life, which is a big relief. Because usually, I mean, I don't have too much experience, but I imagine the transition back to school after being off, goofing around for the whole summer is a tough one. In any case, let's see what's going on with me. Oh, so this cut over my eye, for those of you watching on video, was healing splendidly. But stupid me, instead of, taking care of it, putting Vaseline on it every day, even after it closed up, I just didn't do anything. And then went back to jiu-jitsu, and I was rolling no-gi on Monday, and I don't even know what happened, but it just opened back up, and I was bleeding quite a bit, and there's a bunch of scar tissue there, so, and it was still a pretty fresh wound, I guess. It was only a week old at that point, so I have no idea how it reopened. I just kind of, the guy I was rolling with was just like, "Hey, you're bleeding." I was like, "Damn it, guess I'm not getting any more exercise tonight." Got to get off the mat. Don't want to get a staph infection. Don't want to bleed on anybody else and ruin their $80 rash guard or whatever they're wearing. So that's that. That's the update on me, guys. Pretty brief. Here's another update on me in regards to UFC 292, which we're pretty fresh off of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm officially too old for these East Coast fight cards with 2 title fights on them, because I don't even know what time it was, but I fell asleep during the co-main event. I woke up on the couch, I think, when Sean O'Malley was walking out, and I was like, "Oh, it's time for the main event. Great." And then I don't remember anything after that. I just I just went to bed. I couldn't make it. I was too worn out. And yeah, these things just go too late. I think it must have been close to 1 a.m. Eastern when this main event came on. So just too much for me. I'm not even gonna bother anymore. If there's 2 title fights, I'm just gonna plan to watch it in the morning. I'm gonna be that grandpa. I'm gonna wake up, put my Metamucil in my coffee, and watch the fights before I can read anything on social media about what happened. So that was that. Unfortunately, I did know the result before I was able to see the fight. So that kind of sucks. I would have liked to just watch it without knowing what was going to happen. And I saw the finish before I saw the entire fight. So Sean O'Malley is the new Bantamweight champion of the UFC. And I got to eat my words a little bit, guys, because last week I was sitting in this same chair telling you that Aljamain Sterling beats him everywhere. I did give the caveat, however, that 2 caveats, actually. One, that Sean O'Malley could knock him out. He does have the knockout power. So he did have that in his back pocket. And the other thing I said about Sean O'Malley, which is definitely true, is when the lights shine the brightest, that's when this guy shows up. He's just one of those guys who thrives on the pressure of being in the spotlight. And it really shows. He gives his best performances when the pressure is on. And say whatever you want about, how he got to the title shot, and he skipped over all the other contenders, and he didn't really have to fight anybody to get there besides Peter Yan. Whatever the circumstances, he got there and he beat the champ fair and square. So that's it. And honestly, I thought he was winning the first round as well. It was kind of a dull round. They were really feeling each other out. Not a lot happened. I was impressed with Sean's footwork, because while he was setting up his strikes and while he was feeling Aljamain out, his footwork was very much addressing the wrestling, because instead of backing straight up, he would switch stances when he backed up, which kind of takes away the shot. And you could see that Aljamain was feinting level changes a couple of times, and then he saw Sean's feet switch. And the one time he got in on the takedown, he did time that stance switch, and he shot for the opposite leg. So he did start to catch on to Sean doing that, but it was super effective for the first 5 minutes. But Sean was also able to time Aljamain lunging in. He did it one time in the first round as well, and it was with the same punch. Caught him with the right hand, but he didn't really commit to it. It's almost like he was just getting the timing to do it the second time, which is what he caught him with in the second round. Aljamain, overextended, lunged in, was way out of range, and O'Malley just stepped right into the pocket, and not a whole lot you could do there. Some people are saying early stoppage. I don't think so. And I'll be the first one to shit on Mark Goddard. You guys know I'm not a fan of him. And I support all of the Longo fighters. I had the opportunity a few years ago to go on Ray Longo's podcast, and it was awesome. And I got to go there to the gym, and everybody was so nice and welcoming and supportive, that I'll just always be a fan of anybody affiliated with that gym. All that being said, and you guys know how I feel about Mark Goddard, I don't think it was an early stoppage. I think it was a pretty fair stoppage. I haven't heard Aljo complaining about it. Obviously, people close to him are, and that's what you do, because your guy, how tough he is, and you think that he could gut it out. And I get that he was responding, but he wasn't doing enough. It was over. It was done. So we got a new bantamweight champion, and it's Sugar Sean O'Malley. So this guy's a character, man. He's very polarizing, right? Because a lot of people are attracted to how flamboyant he is. The colored hair and the tattoos, and he says a lot of goofy things, and people love it. And at the same time, it turns a lot of people off. Some people want to see a champion that's a little bit more professional, but other people are into the sport just to have fun, and there's no right or wrong as far as who you root for. So just enjoy watching the sport. And Sean O'Malley's a talented fighter. What's going to be interesting is what happens next. Obviously, Aljamain has ruffled some feathers with the UFC brass. It's very similar, I think, to when Woodley was the champ, and he had those boring fights, a few in a row with Damian Maia and Wonder Boy, and they were just terrible, and all he would say is he wants more money. So once he lost the title, the UFC was relieved, and they're like, oh, we don't have to deal with this guy being the champ anymore. And obviously he never got back to the championship. I feel like Aljamain's going to be in a similar situation. And I'm not sure to what extent he has ruffled feathers or what actually has gone on. I just know it's been a rocky relationship between him and the promotion. Something to point out is that almost immediately after this fight, the UFC on their social media channels posted the entire main event of a pay-per-view that they just charged like $80 something for. I don't think that's ever happened before. So it could say two things. It could say that they really want to get behind Sean O'Malley as a star and as a face of the promotion, or it could say that, there's bad blood with Aljamain Sterling and they wanted to embarrass him. I hope it's not the latter. We want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and hope things are still professional. But the reality is, I don't think the UFC will be quick to put Aljamain Sterling back in there for a title. And luckily for them, a lot of things are murky in this division right now. And you've got some bad blood between O'Malley and some of the other competitors in the division. I don't think there's going to be a rematch, obviously. And I don't think Merab Dvalishvili, the number one contender, the clear number one contender, is going to get the shot. And if we look at the rankings, for some reason, Henry Cejudo is ranked above Corey Sandhagen. I'm not sure why. Sandhagen should be, right now it should be O'Malley. Obviously, this is going to change on Tuesday, what you guys are looking at if you're watching the video version here. And if you're not, by the way, if you're not watching on YouTube, please come and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would help out a lot. Throw a few comments on some of the videos. It helps the algorithms and things like that. It really does make a difference. I've been doing my best to put out some more content on YouTube as well. Some grappling and striking tutorials and things like that. Whiskey videos, etc., cocktails, all that stuff. Taking requests as well. So if there's anything you want to see, let me know. In any case, I think the ranking should go like this. Obviously, O'Malley's a champ. Aljamain Sterling should be number one. Then it should be Merab. Then it should be Corey Sandhagen. And then Henry Cejudo. But it is what it is. O'Malley was calling out Chito Vera, who was ranked 6th going into last night, where he beat number 10, Pedro Munhoz. Maybe he'll move up a spot for that. Maybe they'll throw him above Peter Yan. I don't know. We'll find out on Tuesday when the new rankings come out. And then Henry Cejudo and Sean O'Malley have had heat for a long time. So I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that Merab gets skipped over. Obviously, Aljo doesn't get the rematch. And it's going to go either to Chito Vera or to Henry Cejudo. It could go to Chito because there's the history there where he has the only win over Sean O'Malley, even though O'Malley still claims he's undefeated. He had that injury in the fight with Chito, and he wants to get that one back, and he's the champ. We've seen this before where guys have gotten to cut the line. It happened with Michael Bisping and Dan Henderson. Bisping became the champion, and there were other guys ahead of Dan Henderson, but Bisping wanted his revenge against Dan Henderson for that H-bomb that he suffered at UFC 100. So they gave it to him. And I get the feeling that the UFC will be willing to give Sean O'Malley what he wants as well. They're going to probably let him call his shots because, they seem to be investing in this kid quite a bit. So that's that. What do you guys think? What do you think is next for Sean O'Malley? What do you think is next for Aljamain Sterling? You know, he said he was moving up to 145 regardless. Do you see him taking another fight? If so, what's the quickest route for him back to the title? I would think like maybe a rematch with Corey Sandhagen. That's the only thing that comes to mind for me. Mark says the UFC will say Merab will face O'Malley when hell freezes over. Yeah. I think Merab's got. I think he's still dealing with some kind of hand injury or surgery or something like that. But yeah, he's gonna get skipped over. It's gonna be Cheeto or it's gonna be Henry Cejudo. I'm pretty confident in that. I'm not good at betting on fights, but I tend to be pretty good at at predicting what fights get made and which ones don't. Yeah, I think Aljo should move up to 45. Obviously, since he's not the champ, he's not going to move right into a title shot. I think him and Brian Ortega would be a really fun fight. That would actually be a really fun fight. Maybe Aljamain Sterling and Josh Emmett. That would be a good one. Somewhere in there, somewhere in that, 3, 4, 5, 6 range at featherweight, I think would be good. And I think 2 wins there, and he's right in the mix for the title. So there's that. I actually think he has a quicker path to the title at featherweight than he does at bantamweight. So what do I know? I'm sipping on a little rum tonight, folks. Mixing it up. Been doing a lot of bourbon lately. This is Old St. Pete spiced rum. If you've been following the show for a long time, this is something that appears around the fall every year for me. I make a hot spiced rum cider around the holidays. I always use this rum. It is really delicious if you can get a hang of it. I don't know if it's just here in Florida or if they distribute everywhere, but if you can find it, it's awesome. It's small batch rum. It's got like the perfect balance of sweet and spice to it. When I say spice, it's like baking spices. So it's like drinking a fresh baked muffin. And it is really tasty. I actually I filmed another one of my 1 minute, 1 glass cocktails today with this rum. So keep an eye out for that in the next, I'd say maybe a week or so. I've been trying to put out content daily. It's a struggle, but I've been filming a lot of stuff on the weekends, and then I edit it when I can, and then I put it out there for you guys. And I appreciate all the positive feedback I've been getting on all that. The training videos have been awesome. Shout out to my buddy Emerson from Gracie Baja Clearwater. He has a film company called Senna Films, Senna. Please go follow them on Instagram. He does amazing videography work, and he's been filming some technique videos for me, some jiu-jitsu stuff, some wrestling things, just little tips and tricks that I've picked up in my many years training MMA that I feel like I can pass on. So, and Emerson makes me look good, which is not an easy task, which is why I know a lot of you are audio only on this podcast, and we don't have a ton of YouTube subscribers. You know, my mom always told me I have a face for radio. Mark says, Bill, have you considered making a cocktail with Poirier's hot sauce? That is an excellent suggestion, Mark. And it just so happens that I recently put in an order for some of Dustin Poirier's hot sauce. So as soon as I try it out and, kind of grasp the flavor profile of those hot sauces, then yeah, I think that's a great suggestion, and I may take you up on it. He says he tried it last night, kind of a Tabasco taste. Awesome. I'm here for it. I do love hot sauce. So I'm happy to support a fighter pursuing endeavors. Speaking of which, I just found out that former UFC fighter and current BKFC commentator Chris Lytle has his own bourbon. It's called Lights Out Bourbon, and I need to get my hands on it. So if anybody is in contact with Chris Lytle, you let him know that I'm hunting his bourbon, and we need to get some of it in my hands so I can do a review. And we need to get Chris Lytle on this show to talk about bourbon. I mean, we have so much in common. There's MMA. He does the BKFC. I've done media for BKFC. He's a firefighter. I was a firefighter. Apparently, he loves bourbon enough to make his own. You guys know I love bourbon. So I think we need to get the two of us together for a chat. So Chris Lytle, I'm sending out the bat signal, my man. We got to get you on this show. We got to talk some whiskey and firefighting and combat sports for sure. Speaking of combat sports, let's continue on down the line. I heard he told you guys I fell asleep during the Weili Zhang fight. It was just, no disrespect to these ladies, but it's just too late, man. These East Coast cards, they can't be putting 2 title fights. It's too much. There were too many decisions on the main card. It dragged on too late. I don't know. It must have been like 12:30 when I just tapped out. But dominant performance by Weili Zhang. Amanda Lemos did have some moments in this fight. She had that at one point. Zhang took her down, and Lemos had that ninja choke, and Zhang defended it beautifully because she was in it pretty deep. I don't know if you guys noticed. I don't know what the commentary was saying about it because I had the volume off. I was actually staying at my in-laws' house last night because I had to take them to the airport early this morning. So I said we should just stay over their house in Tampa so I didn't have to wake up extra early and drive all the way over there to get them. In any case, and they had gone to bed early, so I was on their couch on my laptop watching the fights, and I had the sound off. But Zhang get caught in that ninja choke. I can't remember what round it was because, she didn't go to sleep from the choke, but I did. So I don't know when it was, but she defended it beautifully. She was able to step over the legs and get off to the side. It was an awesome sequence, but Weili Zhang just asserted her dominance as the champion of this division, and that's the long and the short of it. All right, Ian Garry and Neal Magny, man, this was some fucking weirdness between these two. It got so awkward and uncomfortable, cringeworthy, whatever other adjectives you want to attach to this fight. So Ian Garry is supposed to fight Geoff Neal, and Geoff Neal had to pull out some sort of injury. I'm not totally sure what it was. Neal Magny was already planning to be in attendance. He was in shape. He was, ready to make weight. credit to Neal Magny for stepping up. So he comes in 7 days notice. Credit to Ian Garry for taking the opponent change on 7 days notice as well. A lot of people always credit the guy who comes in, but they don't credit the guy who accepts the new challenger. So credit to both of these guys. So the press conferences start to go, and Neal Magny says something along the lines of, he's going to big brother Ian Garry. He's going to beat him up like he's a little kid. And he's used to giving out these kinds of beatings ever since he became a father. And there's two schools of thought here. Obviously there are people who believe in hitting their kids as a form of discipline, and there are people who don't. And obviously, whenever you have an issue like this with two sides, you're going to have people who are very passionate on either side. I was kind of put off by what Neal Magny said, but at the same time, I feel like he was saying it very tongue-in-cheek. I don't believe that he's home abusing his children. Or at least I hope not. We're going to go benefit of the doubt again here. I think there's a big difference between, like a light spanking and, abusing a child. Personally, and this is just me, I do not hit my child. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's necessary. Some people disagree. Some people think it's an absolute necessity, and that's their opinion. That's how they grew up. It's cultural differences. My parents never hit me when I was growing up. My dad was so scary, he never had to. So, but guess what, guys? I turned out just fine. I was a very well-behaved child, and nobody had to smack me around for me to do it. My daughter is, for the most part, a very well-behaved child, and I don't have to strike her to make her behave that way. I understand there are different cultures and there are different beliefs on this. In any case, Ian Garry, who I believe has a young baby, took this very personally, started calling Neal Magny a scumbag, beat the shit out of him in the octagon, leg kicked him to hell, and then was flipping him off and all the rest, and still calling him a scumbag after the fight. It's all nonsense. It's all noise. None of it really means anything. I think, and I really do want to believe that Neal Magny was just being kind of tongue in cheek, and he's not really giving out epic ass whoopings to his kids. He probably and I don't know. I'm not in his home. I don't want to be in his home. I don't want to see what goes on there, but I don't think he was being serious, that he actually beats his children badly. And I also think Ian Garry maybe just needed a little extrinsic motivation to put on the type of performance he felt like he needed to put on. He wanted to make a statement. He definitely made a statement. So all the outside stuff, all the child abuse stuff aside, however you feel about that, let's put it aside and just look at the performance. On 7 days' notice, Ian Garry made one of the most durable guys in the history of the sport look like he shouldn't have even been in there with him. It was, the story was the leg kicks where to the point that Magny could barely stand at the end of this fight. So Ian was beating him up with the leg kicks, but he was mixing up his strikes beautifully. And then in the third round, even, got him down to the ground and was showing some grappling. He waited until, there was no real threat from Neal because of the time to show it. But, he showed a lot of skills in there. You're talking about Neal Magny, who has the most wins in welterweight history. He's won more fights than George St. Pierre. And Ian Garry just smacked him around the cage last night. So this dude's legit. He's legit. Called out Wonder Boy. That's not going to happen. So we can just put that to bed now. He was ranked 13th. I imagine he's going to at least take Neal Magny's spot and jump to number 11. And he's getting into the dangerous territory of this welterweight division where it's packed with wrestlers. So out of the top 10 guys, we won't count the champ. Let's look. Kamaru Usman, wrestler. Colby Covington, wrestler. Bilal Muhammad, wrestler. Chimaev, even though he's not even in this division anymore, wrestler. Gilbert Burns, not a wrestler, but a really great grappler. Sean Brady, wrestler. And Sean Brady was not a wrestler, but as far as his MMA style goes, he is very wrestling heavy. He's a very good wrestler, MMA wrestler. So you got half of the top 10 are really strong wrestlers. So how's he going to navigate those landmines? He already tried to do it by calling out Stephen Thompson. I don't think they're going to do Rachmanov and Ian Garry. I think they're going to try and keep those two apart until they have to fight near a number one contender fight down the line. Obviously, the Jeff Neal fight would have been great. Vicente Luque would make sense. I think that's a really fun fight. Yeah, other than that, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's be honest, Kevin Holland and Ian Garry, the build up to that fight alone would be pretty awesome. So that's my vote. And it'll be a stand-up fight, most likely. All right, Mario Bautista getting it done against Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear, credit to him, stepped in here after fighting last week and getting the third twister submission in UFC history. So that's a bad dude right there. But, Bautista was just a step ahead. Chito Vera getting it done against Pedro Munhoz. It seemed like Chito was off to a slow start again. And this was a good competitive fight. But, towards the end, Chito started running away with it. He started busting Pedro up a little bit. And there you go. He won. And then we had Brad Tavares and Chris Weidman. I'm a big fan of Chris Weidman. I have so much respect for that guy. I think he's got nothing else to prove in this sport. After getting his leg snapped in half, just the fact that he stepped back in that cage, it is so crazy. Think about the injuries you've gotten, like every major injury you've gotten in your life. It's left a scar on you to the point where whenever you're in a similar situation, you think about it. You think about how you don't want that feeling ever again. If you got your hand bitten off by a shark, your forearm would start tingling every time you got near the water, I guarantee it. So just the fact that he was able to put the shorts on one more time, put the gloves on one more time, step back in that cage after the last time he was in there, he left with one leg. And then the horror story he went through recovering with the staph infections and like the botched surgery and whatever else, gets himself back at 39 years old to get back in there with Brad Tavares. And he didn't look terrible, but Brad Tavares at 35 and for fighting as long as he had, he looked way faster than Chris Weidman in there. Chewed him up with the leg kicks. Smart strategy. Got him to the point where, Chris had to fight southpaw for basically the second half of the fight. Almost went down a few times to leg kicks. And just toughed it out. I think one of the doctors or something said that he tore his MCL or his ACL or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last time we see Chris Weidman. And hopefully, he got to go out on his shield the way he wanted. He got back in there. He showed he was mentally tough enough to do it one more time after breaking his leg in half in there. And if that's the last time we see Chris Weidman, then, the guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, come on. He ended one of the most dominant championship reigns in the history of the sport that the sport will ever see. And Anderson Silva was like, he was like a ghost, like a specter, like a living legend. Like it didn't seem like he was ever going to be beaten. And then Chris Weidman went in there and knocked him out. And if you look at his resume and the things he did to guys in that middleweight division, just on a legend-killing tour. But, he definitely showed that he lost a step. He's only a few months older than me, and I know how I feel every day when I wake up. And I've never broken my leg in half. I've been doing this stuff a long time. I've never been a professional, but I also drink a lot more whiskey than Chris Weidman does. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I've never seen his bar. Maybe he's probably one of those guys that doesn't even drink at all. He's probably like super health conscious. But in any case, if he tore his MCL or his ACL, you're looking at like a year recovery there. So then you're talking about coming back at 40, when you just lost on the prelims. And that's not to put him down. I still think the guy's a Hall of Famer. I think he has nothing to prove to anyone. Sometimes it's just time. All right. Gregory Rodrigues. This man is scary. 1 minute, 43 seconds of the first round with Denis Tiuliulin. Got him down, was beating him up, passed his guard like nothing, got on his back, and put him unconscious with elbows from the back. I don't know if I've ever seen this before. I don't know if I've seen anybody generate so much power being on the back with elbows, especially because it's so tricky to land them properly when you have an area of the back of the head that's untouchable. So the fact that he was able to generate that much power and get him in the exact right spot on the side of the head to put him out cold, super impressive. I don't know who won bonuses. I'm sure O'Malley got one. But if Gregory Rodrigues didn't get a bonus, then that shit's rigged. Because that was the most impressive performance of the night to me. I'll just breeze over the rest of this. Kurt Hollabaugh submitted Austin Hubbard with a triangle in the second round. Brad Katona, unanimous decision over Cody Gibson. Apparently, this was the Ultimate Fighter finale. I don't know. I didn't watch any of the Ultimate Fighter at all. So there's that. Andre Petrosky squeaks away with a split decision win over Gerald Meerschaert. This fight was rough. This fight was rough to watch. Here we had two guys who were considered grapplers, and they were mostly striking in this fight. It went to the ground a few times. Like halfway through the fight, they started going to the ground. It was tough because Petrosky, I don't know. It was a close fight, but in the beginning, the striking, it was like they were both throwing 1 and 2 punch combinations, like one shot at a time, one kick, one punch, 2 punches. There were no setups. There was not much footwork. They were just kind of like, Petrosky was just swinging wild, and Meerschaert was just trying to counter with one shot. Every now and then, one of them would flurry a little bit, but there were no combinations, and it was a rough one. It was super close. I think Petrosky probably won the first, Gerald won the second, and then the third was like very back and forth. I kind of was leaning towards Gerald Meerschaert, but it really could have gone either way, which is why it was a split decision. And it goes to Petrosky, who has been begging to fight Bo Nickel. After seeing his striking in this fight, that's not a good idea, because Bo's striking is already more developed, and you're not taking the guy down. So that would be a rough one, but he wants it. And then the beginning of the card was a good night if your last name is Silva. Natalia Silva, unanimous decision over Andrea Lee, bloodied her up quite a bit. And then Karine Silva submitted Marina Moroz with a guillotine in the first round. Nasty guillotine. All right, so that was it. UFC 292. Good card. Good card. Let's look at next week. We're in Singapore. This is an interesting one. So Max Holloway fighting Korean Zombie. Just like for novelty, because after his last fight, he's like, I never fought Korean Zombie. I always wanted to fight that guy. What do you do with Max Holloway? What the fuck do we do with Max Holloway? He's got to go up to lightweight, right? Because he's the number 1 contender at featherweight. They're not going to do him for a 4th time against Volkanovski. So as long as Volkanovski's the champ, we can't do anything with Max Holloway. He's the number 1 contender. He's fighting the number 8 guy just because, like, there's nothing else we can do with him. Like, we gotta have I don't know. I want Max Holloway at lightweight. That's where I want to see him end his career. I think he can make a run. I really do. I think he matches up really well with a lot of guys at lightweight. So let's see. Let's see if it happens. Let's get, let's do Max Holloway and Rafael Fiziev after this. I don't know what I'm saying. This is a fun fight. Don't look at me for predictions, but I favor Max Holloway in this one. Korean Zombie is tough as hell. He's a legend, but I think Max is just going to have too much volume. It's going to be 5 rounds, which favors Max. Too much volume, too much length, and he's just so good everywhere. Co-main event rematch between Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann. These guys do not like each other. Their first fight was not very competitive, if I remember correctly. Pretty sure Anthony Smith made quick work of him. Submitted him in the first round. So, but I guess for the rankings, it made sense that these two fight and they don't like each other. So here we are, co-main event. The bad blood fights are what people want to see. Here's one I'm excited for: Giga Chikadze and Alex Caceres. Caceres has been on a bit of a tear lately. This should be a really fun fight, actually. The other one I'm looking at here is Aaron Blanchfield and Talia Santos. So Santos coming off the loss to Valentina Shevchenko, and Aaron Blanchfield just submitting everybody. She just came off that submission win over Jessica Andrade. So that's a really fun fight. I'm really excited for that one, actually. Junior Tafa and Parker Porter. Yeah, if somebody's getting knocked out there, probably. Same with Waldo Cortez Acosta and Lucas Brzeski. Yeah, imagine somebody's getting knocked out. And then here's the one, folks, to really keep an eye on. Well, can I point at this? Right here. Chidi Njokuani and Michael Olajanchik. There's a whole lot of consonants in this fight that, like, you don't normally see next to each other. But this is a fun fight. Both of these guys are they like to sling some leather. So that's going to be a fun one. And yeah, fun little card. I would pay attention to the start time on this one. Hopefully it's like during the day and it's not like I don't have to stay up. I don't have to try and stay up. Oh man, I hate to sound like the old guy, but these East Coast cards with two title fights, it's no more for me, guys. I'm done. Like it's kind of sad. I'm the same age as Chris Weidman. He can get back in the cage after getting his leg broken in half. I can't even stay up to watch it. So, in any case, I got a lot more content coming your way. Mark says it's okay, Bill. You'll never be as old as me. Well, I mean, whatever age you are, Mark, I'll get there eventually. So I'll catch up. You don't have kids that I know of, so I'm going to age a lot faster than you. You're going to stay looking young and beautiful. And I'm just going to be like, a worn out sack of shit. In any case, what was I saying? I've been making a lot more content. Let me know if you guys have any requests, like cocktails or, jiu-jitsu techniques, wrestling, Muay Thai. I teach all this stuff, guys. I don't just come on here and talk about it. I'm an actual instructor. I'm certified City of Tong Muay Thai trainer. I teach wrestling. I teach jiu-jitsu, all of this stuff. I got a lot of knowledge. I want to share it. I want to make content. It's been a lot of fun for me. So if you have any requests, let me know. If you want to grab some merchandise, reaper1.co is the website. If you want an over-the-top, under-the-influence t-shirt, tank top, or hoodie. Before you know it, it's going to be hoodie season, guys. You got to buy two because you know your girlfriend's going to steal one. Use the promo code MMAROCKS10. Save yourself 10% on your order. And yeah, from what I hear, the hoodies are really comfortable. I still don't have one myself. Maybe this coming fall season I'll actually get them to send me one. But yeah, from what I hear, they're super comfortable. So go ahead and grab one of those. Do me a favor, if you're listening audio only, which I know is most of you, head over to YouTube and just hit the subscribe button. Throw a comment on a video or two. It really helps me out. I'm going to try to continue posting daily. I'm also on TikTok now, guys. Believe it or not, I was withholding for the longest time. I was the most anti TikTok guy, but I guess I I guess my identity belongs to China now, or whatever the deal is when you sign up for TikTok. So there's that. So find me on there at MMA on the Rocks. I do a little bit different content there because there are some templates that I use in my editing app that are exclusive to TikTok. So a little bit different content over there. Everywhere else, pretty much the same. Instagram and YouTube, I'm posting a lot of the same stuff. But yeah, a lot of the whiskey stuff, the tutorials, it's all been so much fun. I really enjoy doing this stuff, and I enjoy doing the podcast as well. I've been trying to be better about taking the short clips from the podcast because I understand I can be a little more tolerable in small doses. But yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think I had anything else. So I'm going to finish this rum and go to bed. Until next time. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.